had a very nice gentleman just come in. And that's what happens when we're here in the front office of the Harry's Hobbies. You get people that come in, customers, and here we go again.
Yep.
Hey, modeling freaks, fans, and friends, it's the Pope of Plastic here again for the 13th time from Harry's Hobbies, vintage unboxings at Harry's. Nice to have you along. Thanks for everybody. I complained last week that not many people were looking at the Posher 1/8 scale kit, which is one of the greatest models of all time, a holy grail kit. And luckily people started watching it, so thank you for that. I appreciate it so much. I was getting worried that people had no interest in holy grail model kits, but apparently they're okay.
Well, that's a good kit.
Yeah, very good kit, a good one to check out. If you haven't checked it out yet, you need to go see that. I think it was Vintage Harry's Unboxings number 11, I think it was.
I believe so.
Yes, it was. Today, ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna go in. A lot of people are saying, hey, you know, I haven't done any armor, I haven't done any tanks, and we're not gonna do any armor tanks today because I couldn't locate one. But what I did locate was a couple really cool things, a few really cool things. I know a lot of you love Tamiya. And I'm in the same boat, even though they don't give me any attention, they don't correspond with you. They're like the Ferrari of the model world. They think they're too high and mighty for everybody. They're more focused on their RC business, whatever the hell it is. I really don't care. But I still am a fan of Tamiya. And when I was a little kid growing up in Florida, brother Dave, actually who just got his package in Australia where I sent him the biplane kits. And what a great, I'm going to be posting that video here on YouTube so you can see my brother Dave, who would never let me watch him build models, learn anything from him. He would just stay holed up in his bedroom and he would build on his own, and I would have to sit outside the window and listen, out the door and listen to him and sneak in when he was at school, and I would look at his model builds and learn from that. But I sent him his models. He was so excited. I also sent him an A10 that he wanted me to build for him. And he texted me back, Steve, and he said, it's amazing what you learn by just listening through my locked bedroom door. Which is true. But anyway, he was a big fan of Tamiya, and anytime I saw a Tamiya kit, it was like the holy grail, you know, using that term again. When I was a kid, it was a holy grail because my parents would not buy me Tamiya kits because they thought they were too hard, they were too expensive. They wanted me to stick to the cheap stuff, and you know, I guess that was probably a good, you know, a good way to do things, because when I was a young model builder, I was rushing through. I just wanted to get done so I could play with it. You know what I mean? And I think my parents saw that I just wanted to build stuff so I could play with it, whereas my brother was building stuff so he could put it on the shelf and display it and was taking care. And that way, so he did a lot of Tamiya kits. And when I was a kid, the big thing that I really loved was the Tamiya figures. And to this day, I think Tamiya does probably the best figures out there. Now, don't get me wrong. People are gonna, Bob in Yugoslavia, he 3D prints the greatest. You can see the hairs on his face, and the bulge in his pants, and everything else. We're talking about mass production of figures. I think Tamiya, Steve, would you agree with me?
I would agree, and I always enjoyed the box art and the whole...
And that's what we're going to look at.
The layout of the box.
Absolutely, and that's what we're going to look at today, because I found a stash of vintage Tamiya figure kits, which I remember when I was a kid, and I know a lot of you are going to remember, and we're going to kind of see how good they were back then compared to this day, because I think back the early 70s, late 60s figures were incredible that Tamiya did, and the sculpting was out of this world. So we're going to look at look at this. I got some nice. I might need your knife though, Steve. But we're going to see. We'll maybe not. Maybe not. Only on one. Okay, there it is.
And I might add for the folks that you are an American Pope before the latest American
Well,
Pope.
you know, people were expecting to see me come out on the balcony. I had to tell
was.
everybody I'm not at the Vatican, and
I was.
I'm not from Chicago. I'm not even Catholic. So
No,
wouldn't that have been something?
But
if
do
I
you
would
have the
come out?
correct hand wave?
I do have the
There
hand wave,
you
and I do have the hat, which I don't wear here. But when I do special things on TikTok, I wear the hat. But let's get into this. I am the Pope of Plastic, not the Pope of the Vatican. And listen, I've also gotten this many times. People are offended sometimes that I call myself the Pope. I love the Pope. I think it's a wonderful thing. The Catholic religion, the Jewish religion, the Baptists, the Protestants, the Unitarians, the Scientology, whatever you are, I really don't care. The Pope is just, I thought, was at is a high level, and you have to hear the whole story about that. How one day I'll tell the whole story how I became the Pope. I do it on TikTok all the time, so don't get offended. It is a nod to the papacy. And one day,
And it sounds better than the Emperor.
yes,
of
exactly. And one day
The
I will,
Tsar
and
of
one day
plastic.
this moniker, just like the regular Pope, will get passed on to somebody else. What it really basically means, just like the real Pope, is that I have dedicated my life to model building and getting people into the hobby. That's really what this is all about. Okay, let's get into this. Look at this. Look at these. These are definitely from late 60s, I would think. We're going to see if we can find a date on them. But these are the kind of figure sets. Now, I did get some Tamiya figure sets when I was a kid. They weren't very expensive, so my parents would get me these because I wanted to play with these. The plastic soldiers that you got in the bag, remember that? And it had that crappy tank and all of that, and it just were not the same as what Tamiya was doing. Look at these. These have not even been opened. There's no instructions. I guess the instructions, if I remember correctly, you just kind of use the box.
You use the box.
Yeah, so look, we're going to crack the cellophane. Tamiya still does this to this day. They staple their bags. They do not heat seal them. They do not heat seal their bags. I don't know why. It seems like it'd be a lot cheaper. But let's look. This is going to, does it say what year? 19, do you know, Steve? Did you see the date?
I'm going to say, I'm going to guess 1967.
1969, the year after I was born. So this would have definitely been figures that my brother would have done, no doubt about it. And I remember seeing these. But the molding, Steve, if you look, compared to this day, is very good molding. They've gotten better over time, but the facial expressions, the hands, these would paint up to be really good figures to this day. You might want to make some modifications on them. The detailing is a little chunky compared to what it is today, but very nice. And they have both top side detail and underside detail. Now let's take a look at the weapons here. Weapons are molded very nicely. Detail is great. You got his hands with the binoculars. The helmets look good. Very, very nicely molded. So I would say these would hold up.
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice. And I mean, that shows you why they were so good.
Well, I think for that time, and even back in the 70s, a serious hobby shop would have Tamiya.
The best hobby shops had Tamiya. Your department stores, your toy stores usually did not have Tamiya. It was the hobby shop. And back in the day, I mean, hobby shops were fairly commonplace. Even my hometown in Stuart, Florida. And I love this box art. This is vintage. I'm going to say it's probably from around the same time. And what I loved about these sets, and when you would buy one of these as a kid, was this right here. The actual painted figures, the photographs. So this was giving you very good reference as to the way they were supposed to look. So you would practice, you would try to do this, you'd emulate this, and just beautiful. And Here's everything that comes in the kit. This illustration is just fantastic. It's reminiscent of old G.I. Joes.
Exactly.
And when I worked for Hasbro, I worked on G.I. Joe, and this kind of stuff was my inspiration when I worked over at Hasbro. So let's see what we got in here. Oh, bonus, we got a catalog.
Those were great.
Oh my God, I had no idea that this was in here.
That is a holy grail item right there.
This is what you sat on the toilet and dreamed. And you sat near your mom would be like, "Well, Ricky, are you okay?" And I say, "Yeah, Mom, I'm just looking at the Tamiya catalog. I'll be out in another 45 minutes." I cannot wait to look. This is better than the model.
That's probably going to have the Honda Formula One kit, maybe a Lotus 49.
Look at this. Let's see what they got in here. There it is. There it is. Look at this. Who doesn't remember all of this? God, I would stare at this. Oh, this was the one I always, with the motor. And here was the German one with a full interior. Unbelievable. Look at this.
This same format.
Everything.
To this day, they still lay their catalog out.
Similar, yeah. But look at that. That is, then you flip it over and you get to the... Now, this is what I'm building right now, Steve. I'm building this right this moment. If you tune into TikTok, you can watch me building on this, and I have built some as well on YouTube.
I built that one.
Yep, I built that one not too long ago, and I built that one. I haven't built any of these yet, but wow, what do you think of that? That is awesome to see. Now, MRC, people are like, what are MRC? Well, MRC was a model rectifier company, wasn't it? Corporation?
Model
they
rectifier.
Were the importer,
they were
essentially, in New Jersey. But wow, what a treat that is to see that. Now, this one does have an instruction sheet, but only for the weapons. Again, I don't see a year on this, but I'll bet it'll be molded on the sprue. Now these look even better than the other ones. These might be a little bit newer, but look how good the sculpting is. I would love to know who the actual sculptor was, because that sculptor, very, very talented. And just very cool. The reverse detail is just as good as the front. This little Browning machine gun is really nicely molded. This is a nice set. What year? What year do you think this one is? What year do you think this one is, Steve?
Well, it would probably predate those two cars, because the Formula One cars would have been 1974. This thing, I'll say about 1970.
1976.
Well,
1976, and beautifully molded. I knew this was going to be newer because this was a little chunkier. The molding wasn't quite as crisp and clean. This is very nicely done. This is certainly would hold up today, and so would that as well, even though that's a little bit older. Now, here's one in cellophane. You know what? I'm going to keep, this is the Japanese infantry. I'm going to keep this one in cellophane. I don't want to. This one, though, I'm curious about, because this is an Airfix set. I'm going to say it's about the same time frame, but look how nice, cool that is. I want to open this one because I want to compare the molding and the sculpting of the Airfix from the same time period. Do you agree that we should check this out?
I would agree. I would, without that being open, I would think the Tamiya would probably be a little bit finer.
Who, the Tamiya?
Yeah.
Oh, I would think without a doubt this is very old cellophane. We'll leave that over there for Harry to discover at some point.
Yeah.
We've got tape here. We don't want to rip the box. cool thing about doing these videos is that Harry's been getting a lot of calls from people because I post the phone number on the video, and Harry's been getting calls from people inquiring about some of the models I've been showing. And I think that's a wonderful thing, and that's a big reason why I do these. You know, I want Harry to get business out of this, obviously. So if you guys are looking for something and you can't find it, please don't hesitate to call our friend Harry or talk to Steve here. And I'm sure they will help you out. Okay, Airfix now, from the same time period. Here it is, the Modelers Club. This has not been opened since, look how old these are. I can't even get. Those are some old decals right there. I don't know what that is for. Here is your instructions. The Desert Rats. Now this is a weird scale. This is 1/32 scale. Which
Airfix use kind of weird scales.
yeah,
176.
between 1/32 and 1/35. It's not a big disparity between the two. So, but.
The 1/32 would be 54 millimeter.
Yeah. Don't ask me. I'm not good at math, Steve. All I know is between 1/32 and 1/35, it's only three numbers between the two, so it can't be that much difference in size.
No.
I'm horrible with math. Okay, look at this. We're gonna tear this open. Let's see how first off, we got to join the Airfix Modelers Club. You can mail your information over to London. And a club page every week in Buster and Valiant Comics, or write to Airfix Modelers Club. There you go.
I'll send it in.
Okay. You know what? These look really nice, actually. I have never seen an Airfix figure, and these look really good. Really good. I mean, I'm impressed. This is not what I was expecting to see. Is there more flash on these than the Tamiya? Yes, absolutely. But as far as the detail is I would say fantastic. I would say the detail is equal to Tamiya. And I'm shocked to say that. The guns are spectacular. Really cool. Look at the Tommy gun. Very, very nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Isn't that nice? And this would be a good set to have, too. Desert Rats. Imagine this with a nice tank, nice tank diorama. British tank out there battling the Germans, Rommel. Here we got a couple, This is really nice. I'm shocked. The bases are very plain, though. There's nothing on the bases, which isn't bad. You could build up your own texture, your own sand, your own, dirt. Enough room to put some, some weeds sticking up and things like that. I am highly impressed with the Airfix. I gotta give them a kudos. I gotta give them, definitely give them kudos on the molding and the sculpting on those. We're gonna just set these aside and then we'll put them back in the boxes after the video's open. Okay, now I built this model a few times. The Kubla wagon,
Oh,
is that
this
what they
is
call
the
it?
Schwimmwagen.
The Schwimmwagen, and this is the set that went with the Schwimmwagen. I'm German and I can't pronounce it. But look at the beautifully painted box. Now this, I'm going to say this is from the 80s.
Has a barcode on it.
Yeah, this has to be 80s or 90s to be on. Oh, this is really new. This is 2002. You know what? Let's open it up just to see kind of the difference. Just to see the difference between the two. I was fooled. The box looked, because sometimes Tamiya does that. They'll do a reissue of something and you think it's old and it's not. And this is, but the molding. I think this is just a reproduction. You know what I mean? They reproduced it. I don't think it is like they did a new sculpting. So I'm gonna say this is because the detail And the quality doesn't look any different than the old ones. I mean, maybe it's a little bit crisper. Where is it? Where is one in here? I just wanted to compare. Seeing if I can compare anything side by side. The shovels, these have, you know what, this is molded a little bit better. Just overall, it's just improved over time. So anyway, you can see how it is improved. You know, a little bit crisper, a little bit, you know, not flat, no flash. I mean, it's just, these are beautiful. And this is what Tamiya is known for, is their mold quality. And you certainly have that with this kit. Okay, let's get on to it. This one I know is old. This one I know is old. This one does not have a barcode. Again, this beautiful box art illustration, very reminiscent of G.I. Joe back in the day. And then you have your finished figures, again, that you would study and want to use that as your guide to paint. Now this is gray. Oh my goodness, look at it. These, it did come with decals, but I don't think those are somebody, looks like somebody wiped themselves with this decal. Okay, let's see what we got here in this one. I love painting figures, by the way, Steve. You know, it's something I really enjoy. It's kind of its own art form. It's its own type of model. It's almost not model building. Yeah, you're gluing some arms on and a head on and stuff, but the painting techniques that you need to have to do figures is, I would say, quite a bit different than building a model, where you're building a model airplane and the wings are gray and the underside is, you know, light gray or whatever. On figure painting, if you just follow the guide and you paint their uniform, you know, the pants are dark gray, the top is, you know, a green, the face is flesh, and you follow those. If you buy those paints that they say, buy those paints, paint them with all the proper call outs that Tamiya is telling you to paint. You do it exactly the way they say it. You paint everything, glue it to the base. You're going to look at it and you're going to go, looks okay. You know, it doesn't look very realistic. The colors are correct. Whereas on an airplane, you can kind of get away with it. It will just look like it, you know, came out of the aircraft showroom, you know, before, you know, it got weathered and everything. Figure painting is a whole different animal if you want to do it good and become good at it. It takes a lot of practice, and what it really takes is understanding the layering of color. You start with your darkest color. Like if I were doing these today, Steve, what my first step would be to spray these sprues in flat black. I would spray them in flat black. Then I would go in with, say if the pants were going to be gray, okay? And they're like a field gray. What I would do is I would do the black, and then I would go and I would paint dark gray, leaving the recesses black. And then after that would dry, then I would go back and I would go with a lighter gray on certain folds, you know, kind of the medium folds. Then as my final step, I would use a light gray, almost white, to dry brush the details of the pants. And then after that, I may even go back and add some highlights and smooth things out and things like that. But that's the way you have to figure paint. You have to layer color to achieve the realism of what it looks like, you know, because what you want to do is you want to kind of create your own shadows and depths and highlights of sun reflection, and you do the same thing with the face. You start out with like a dark brown, then you go with a kind of a medium flesh, and then you go with a light flesh, and then you highlight the highlights in white or an off-white. But you have to layer color. It takes a lot of practice. So coming to some place like Harry's and buying a bunch of cheap sets of figures is a good thing to do, because, you know, it gives you plenty of material to work on. And then also, if you just want to practice, you can practice. You can, if you're using acrylic paint, it's easy to remove the paint with alcohol, and you can get right back down to bare plastic and start all over again. I'm back without Steve. Steve got too busy. We kept having too many people come into the shop because Steve was in there on his own. So I needed to come home and finish our little video from my modeling bench. So at least you get to see where I build my models. Here I am in the Cathedral of Model Building. What I wanted to follow up on with the figures is, figures are a great way to learn different painting techniques. And the biggest thing about painting figures is the layering of color, dark to light, dark to light. Any one of my figures, if I'm doing a gray pair of pants, it's usually 4 or 5 colors to achieve the look I want. Starting dark and building upon that, all the different layers of shadowing and highlights and all that kind of stuff. So if you stumble across old figures like the ones I was just showing you, it's a great way to practice. You know, it's a great way to practice. But those old vintage figures by Tamiya still stand up to this day, and they are fantastic. And if you need any figures, Harry has tons of them, new and old. So you want to check out Harry's and Harry's Hobbies, and you know, call him up. Say, hey Harry, how are you? This is Bob from Tallahassee in Iowa, and I saw the Pope reviewed some figures. I need some figures, and do you have anything? And he'll say, sure, I got figures. You know what? You buy 5 sets, I'll give you a little discount. I don't own the hobby shop. I'm just saying kind of what I think he would do, but that's up to Harry. Anyway, I enjoyed doing these. Sorry we got interrupted. I had a couple more things to show you, but he got busy. Next week I will do another video. We'll go into video number 14. Make sure we have the hobby show coming up May 18th, right around the corner. Make sure you get here at the Elks Lodge in Franklin, Massachusetts. It'll start around 10 in the morning. It is going to be a spectacular show, and we want to see you there. So make sure you come and join us. We'll have a lot of fun. Just to show you that I do actually build models, just because I know a lot of you. Who is this nudnik? What does this nudnik know about models? Listen to this blowhard. I actually do build models. And here's one I just finished. I did this one during what we call the F-Bomb Marathon, when I built this model from start to finish. I opened the box, started building, and didn't stop until I finished the model. And this is the results. A beat-up Volkswagen 23 window, which nowadays, if you want to try to purchase one of these in any condition, they're over $100,000. But this one looks like it was owned by, you know, a surfer. You know, it's probably smoked a lot of dubage inside here. A lot of dubage was smoked inside. All the doors open. Let's see if I can do that for you. The doors open. This was a Revell Germany kit. This was a modern kit, but I got to tell you, Revell Germany has really stepped up their game when it comes to their model kits. And I've only built the Revell Germany vehicle kits, and I can tell you, fantastic. I'm a big fan. I like them as equal to Tamiya. Equal to Tamiya, if you can believe that I'm saying that. But there she is. That's the, there's the bottom, all nice and weathered. So I built that all live on TikTok from start to finish. Now, this is what I'm working on right now, is I'm working on, this is a vintage kit. This is the Lotus Formula One model from 1974. This is the Lotus. These vintage Tamiya F1 kits are difficult. They are difficult, even though it looks like a modern kit because it's got a brand new box and they threw in some crappy photo etch that is useless on these models. It's useless. I don't even use it. I did use it for the belt buckles. It's still 1970, early 1970s technology, molding and everything else. So don't be fooled that it's going to go together like, vanilla, vanilla and cream. It's not going to go together like that. These are very, very, very difficult. And if you break a suspension part, which is very easy to do, it's tough to recover. You got to do some scratch building and figuring things out. But this is the front end. This took this front end, believe it or not, 4 days to do, and a lot of screaming. Lots of screaming. Lots of screaming, and 4-letter words were thrown around. Now here, look at this, is the engine. Oh, yes, sirree. Look at that. Again, difficult. Takes a lot of patience. Lots of patience. And but in the end, you can really come out with a beautiful, beautiful looking model. So I built a lot of these for folks over the years, and I'm building this one for my friend Chip, and this will be going to Ohio when I get it all finished. And then this part goes on here like that. It's going to be something else. So we're almost done. Wait, a few more days on that one. We'll have it wrapped up. But anyway, sorry for the interruption. Steve wishes he was here. And I wish he was here too. I love doing those videos with Steve. Steve's a great guy. I've known him a long, long, long time. He's like Harry's right-hand man. Good guy. Been in the hobby business for a long, long time. Just like Harry. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. I can't stress that enough. Please like and subscribe. You know, like and subscribe. That's all I can ask. I'm not asking for any money. I'm just asking you to like and subscribe. Check out my website. If you do want to spend some money, you can reach me through the website, or you can shoot me an email at thepopoplastic@gmail.com. I'd be happy to build you a beautiful model, like something like this, or a Formula One car, or an airplane, or a boat, or a train, or a tractor, or a tank, whatever. Whatever you want, I'm happy to do it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. These have been a lot of fun to do, and we'll do another one next week from Harry's, and I hope you'll tune in for it. We'll see you soon. Have a good one.